Hi, in the previous video I asked all of you to do a homework using this photograph, and I wasn't really thinking. I'm so sorry. The color that I asked you to mix the shadow for is a turquoise color. It's actually a very complicated color to mix to, especially since the video I asked all of you to use primary colors. I'm going to show you how you can mix turquoise from the primary set in this video. Let's go. Okay, this is a material that you will need for this mixing tutorial. Let's start with a Daniel Smith Essential 6 color. And I've already introduced you these 6 colors from the previous video. They're a really good set, but the colors that I'm going to use out of the 6 will just be 3. Pyro Scarlet, Phthalo Blue, Green Shades, and New Gamboshed. Okay, so here's my recipe for turquoise. You have to start with blue. The base of turquoise is actually blue. You can use various blue, but I'm going to use phthalo blue, green shade. The next step is to add a touch of yellow. Well, in the palette that I showed you earlier, the 6 colors, I'm going to pick New Gambosh. It's a bit warmer, hence closer to red, but since I'm going to throw in a bit more red, the New Gambosh doesn't really hurt. You have to fine-tune with a very small amount of red. Very small amount. It could destroy the mix very quickly if you put too much. Pyro Scarlet is the one that I have on the palette, so therefore that's the color I'm going to use. However, there is one color that you will need to create the turquoise, that will look more like the teacup. You will need white. I have picked Chinese white, and therefore you kind of have to find either a titanium white or Chinese white. I think Chinese white is better because it's easier to mix. It's not opaque. Actually, opaque may not be that bad, so it doesn't really matter all that much. But anyway, you need white, okay? And once you've mixed, in those few colors, you do need to experiment with a different proportion of it, and you need to mix enough because it's very hard to get the same color if you have missed. If you run short, for example, in the middle of your sketching, you're going to be a bit of a trouble because it's very hard to get back the same color. So on my palette, those are the colors that I have. Like I said, New Gamboshed, there'll be Phthalo Blue, and also the Pyro Scarlet and Chinese White. Those are the colors I'm going to use to mix this turquoise, alright? The Chinese White is of a different brand. It doesn't really matter. They're all artist quality, alright? So, okay, first thing first, you put a very big amount, as big as you need for your sketch. Here, for demo purposes, I'm just going to use a tiny bit of the blue. This is Phthalo Blue Green Shade. It's a very beautiful blue. I do like it a lot. It's very intense. It's very small molecules. It's slightly staining. Or in fact, it's quite staining. And so you got to be careful with the color because it's quite powerful, as in like a little bit of it can go a long way. A little bit of New Gambosh into the mix. All right, I put it on the side, not go directly, because I don't want to have a different sort of proportion. So I'm going to go very carefully and mix it into the phthalo blue. And as I discovered, I didn't have enough New Gambosh, so the whole thing goes into the mix. So let me dabble a bit and play around with it. So yeah, it's sort of almost turquoise, but not quite. It's too dark and it doesn't have any hint of a red in it. So that's the next thing that I want to do. I'm going to pick up a bit of red into the mix, and I'm going to dab into it. In fact, I didn't quite use Pyro Scarlet. I used the other red in this mix, which is quinacridone rose. It kind of works as well. And once I lay that down, it is a bit closer to the turquoise color. The only thing that's missing is that it's too dark. So by adding Chinese white to the mix, I can now sort of get a lighter version, slightly lighter. I didn't put too much of the white in it. And that is the sort of color. And actually, you do have to play around with the mixed, and since I prefer it to be a bit more bluish, I added a bit more blue into the mix. So that's my first attempt at the turquoise mixture using this recipe. Okay, let's check our reference color and see whether we can mix closer to the color itself. Alright, I've pulled up the reference photo on my phone. I'm going to try to mix it as close as possible to the lit version of the cup. And as you can see, whenever you mix all sorts of colors, they tend to go darker. Not necessarily becomes black, but they becomes gray or darker in tone. So one of the things you need to do is to make sure that the white are added to the mix so that it becomes of the same value. Value is where you're reading them in terms of light and dark. And by adding more Chinese white, you can see that the color is closer and closer to the teacup in turquoise color. So I think that's the end of the tutorial for now, but I hope you've got the recipe in order for you to do the homework. I'm so sorry I gave you something quite difficult. It's probably a level 3, but although I did tag it as level 2 in the video that I put up. So anyway, it should be good fun, learning something new, right? So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Mixing Turquoise. Play around with the recipe and tell me what you do and what you know, if you get stuck, let me know in the description below. Happy to help. Alright, so meanwhile, stay safe wherever you are. Peace, we take out.